Hi, it's John, and in this video we'll take a look at a firmware update that Tamron released for the 150-500 for the Z-mount in November 2024. It addresses an issue with image stabilization. I released a video in December 2023 that identified a pretty niche issue when shooting video. The bug occurred with the 150-500 attached to a Nikon Z8 when using electronic image stabilization together with regular vibration reduction. When both types of stabilization were used together, the image was much less stable than when using either of the stabilization modes by themselves. Here's a demo of me switching between the stabilization modes on the original firmware. It's very obvious EVR and regular VR don't play nicely together. Well, 11 months later, Tamron released a firmware update for the lens. So it sounds like this should directly address the issue in my video. Let's update the firmware and take a look. The lens has a USB-C port on the underside so we can update the firmware. I have the Tamron Lens Utility app installed on my computer, and it's as simple as connecting the lens to the computer with a USB-C cable and firing up the software. By clicking on Lens Firmware Update, the software checks the firmware on the lens against the latest version available on the Tamron servers. Click Update to install version 2 on the lens. The lens update took about 20 seconds. Let's check the camera firmware screen. You can see that the camera is running firmware 2.01 and the lens is now updated to version 2. Okay, let's see if the vibration reduction in video has been improved. Here's the footage with the EVR enabled. As you'd expect, it crops in and the image is pretty stable. If you look very closely, there's a characteristic warping of the image, but it's pretty minor here. Now here's switching on vibration reduction. On an initial glance, it looks very similar to just using EVR. So that's a solid improvement over how the system worked on lens firmware version 1. Looking a little more closely, I can see that the mild warping has effectively disappeared. Here's some more footage with all 4 scenarios of EVR and VR on and off. The image with both types of VR enabled is smoother and less jittery than either EVR alone or vibration reduction alone, at least to my eye. I did some quick testing of whether the firmware update improved VR for still shooting, but I didn't notice any obvious improvements. Then again, Tamron didn't mention that they'd made any improvements here. So overall, it seems the bug I raised in my video in late 2023 has been fixed. It's good to see that Tamron is looking after their customers and fixing problems with their lenses, even with an issue as niche as this one. Well, that wraps up this short video. If you have any questions or your own observations, it would be great to hear your thoughts. Thanks for checking out the video, and if it's been helpful, please like the video, subscribe and leave a comment below.